Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Love and honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is your brother Ayash Kabar from the GMS Virginia camp, coming at you with a quick hit that I pray that you find edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. And Babylon the Great is being cooked from the inside out. And the other nations are starting to realize how much Babylon the Great is a problem for them rather than a solution. You know, your average Babylonian, Egyptian, can't even afford to live. You know, they can't even afford the basic necessities of life in some cases. Homelessness is going through the roof. Jobs are being lost daily, you know, and the American dream is being flushed right down the toilet to the point where you can't even get back a remnants of the American dream vision that you once had. A lot of people have actually given up on this place. A lot of these Americans are sitting back and wondering what has happened to their way of life. And they just don't understand it. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30 and verse 7. And Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, thy power, shall put all these curses upon thine enemies, and upon them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. What curses? The curses that we had to go through. You know, being in captivity, being destroyed, you know, hating one another, not being brotherly, you know. All of these things Yahweh Bashem Yahushai did to us because we didn't hearken unto him. Well, these other nations who have had a hand in our destruction, you know, is going to have to feel the wrath. They're going to have to go through the same curses that we went through, starting with Esau Edom. And that's what you're seeing now. You know, you're seeing Esau Edom, a.k.a. the Egyptian, a.k.a. the Babylonians, you know, a.k.a. the Americans, going through shit that they otherwise would normally not go through. You know, they're being brought down to a very low, I can't even say a very low frequency. They're being brought down to a very low state that they're not accustomed to, that they actually feel as though they shouldn't even have to deal with, you know? And this place is actually being destroyed daily. Here we are in 2026, and it's already starting out with a bang, literally. 3 days in, there was, you know, an invasion in Venezuela in you know, early morning of the day or even at night, you know. So 2026 is going to be a doozy for a lot of these people because they're not going to understand why these things are happening to them. They're not going to understand, you know, who's doing it to them. The book of Psalms, chapter 10 and verse 2. The wicked in his pride doth prosecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. You know, so everything that you've imagined for us to have to go through, you're going to go through. Why? Because the curses are being translated onto you. You know, you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to suck it up and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You know, the book of Sirach, chapter 27 and verse 26. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein. Khan, I mean, you know, you dug a pit for us. Or should I say you're digging a pit for the 2/3, well, you're going to fall into that same pit, because Yahweh Bashem Yahushua says that you're not going to be able to fulfill your enterprise, you know, because while you're eating, you're going to get fucked up, you know. And a lot of people are starting to realize that Babylon the Great isn't so great. You know, they're starting to realize that America is a destroyer of nations, you know, even though they sit back, you know, and say under their, well, they sit back and they tell you that America is, you know, the greatest place on earth. But meanwhile, here it is, they're deporting everyone who's coming over here. So America is actually cutting off a lot of nations that were at peace with them. You know, why? Because they've used you and they've actually are done with you. America's done with you, and they're showing you that they're done with you. You know, here it is. They've given the, you know, ninja woman all of these rights and availabilities, and now they're taking them away from her. Why? Because they're done with her. You know, here it is. You know, these people have made treaties with you in terms of your other nations, and now they're done with you. And now they're reneging on what agreements you have once had. The European countries are starting to realize that Babylon the Great is not their benefactor. You know, they're not doing anything to benefit them. They're doing things to benefit Babylon the Great, to put them under subjection. And it's going to get to the point where these other nations are starting to realize it more and more each day. And these other nations are starting to take sides. Because very soon it's going to be Babylon the Great and you know, those you know, other people who are not supposed to be in the land of Yasharallah are going to have to go to war against everyone. And in that, they're going to be destroyed. The book of Isaiah, chapter 47 and verse 11. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know whence it riseth. And you're not going to know when these evils are coming. You're not even going to you don't even comprehend it now. You just know that something's wrong. You know, you just can't quite put your finger on it. But evils are coming to you. You know, you're being had in a trick bag. Yeah, okay, you might have done what you've done in Venezuela, you know, but, you know, it's all for a reason. It's all for a reason that at the end of the day, you're not going to benefit from. You know, and you could get on TV and talk very loftily about how you have a very powerful and swift, you know, military, and that's all well and good, because you do. You have a very, you do have a very powerful military. And Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is about to, he's about to test how powerful it is. You know? Let me see what I want to get. Let me see. Salakia. There's a precept that I wanted. Let me see. Let me see. Salakia, bros. Because Khan, this is it. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2 and verse 11. Let our strength be the law of justice. And that's what you've always done. Your strength has always been your law of justice. Your strength has always been how you were able to get these other nations to take a knee. Your strength has always been what you've used. Well, these other nations are also getting stronger. Which brings me to another precept. Let me see. Let me get this. Because your strength is falling. Let me see. Let me get this. I think brothers know where I'm going. Let me see. The book of Joel, chapter 3, and I start at verse 9. Proclaim ye among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Come. I mean, the weak is starting to talk like you once spoke. The weak is going to demonstrate how strong they actually are, because they're actually joining alliances with Gog. You know, these other nations are starting to come together, and they realize who the problem is. They understand who the hammer is that have constantly kept them under subjection. And the beautiful thing about it is, even the people here of your nation are starting to feel it. You know, because you're about to be caught on every side. You know, even though the lesson started talking about how this place is being cooked from the inside, it's also being cooked on the outside as well. To the point where this devil ain't going to have nowhere to go. He's not going to have anywhere to run or no one to turn to, because he's making enemies with every nation on the face of the earth. You know, and that's just, and you know, that's just what time we're in. We're in a time where, you know, these nations are going to start to come up. Here it is, down in the Caribbean, well, in the Gulf of Mexico, you got Russia, or you got Russian ships. You know, you got Chinese vessels down there. You got subs. You know, east coast of Babylon the Great. You know, you got Russian nuclear subs. West coast, you got Chinese vessels. This place is being surrounded, and you people don't even realize it. And you don't even realize it. But things are about to get so bad in this place that, you know, a lot of people just ain't going to know what to do. And it's all the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushai at the end of the day. This ain't going to be a long video. I'm going to close out here real soon. Let me see if I got a few other precepts I want to get, because, you know, things are getting hot. The book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and 3. And this is another thing that this devil said during this press conference earlier today. The book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then shall destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. You know, they're calling this man T. Rump the peaceful president, while at the same time they're telling you that, he ain't nothing to fuck with. And quite honestly, these people are just doing nothing but causing these other nations to hate them more and more. Let me see where I want to close out. This ain't gonna be a long lesson. It's just gonna be quick and to the point. Let me see. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 15, verse 22. A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. I think I read that already, but this is the point. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? And this is just what's about to happen. Babylon the Great is about to be a desolation amongst the nations. It's about to be destroyed, and there's nothing that anybody or anyone can do about it. But we have been out here on our watch warning you that these things are coming. The great persecution is coming. The famine of the word is on its way. And a lot of you people just ain't going to know which way to turn. Because you're not seeking Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. So, like I said, this is just a quick hit, to edify the flock. And so with that, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honors to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem Rakaha Kwadash. Double honor to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect. Shalom.